Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Caffeinated Jiu-Jitsu. I am super excited to be here with another amazing guest. 2026 continues to deliver when it comes to guests. Today, I have with me Liana. And Liana, is it De La Cruz or is that how you say your last name?
Yeah, so De La Cruz, if we're going formal, I also have another last name of Magda. I know this is where it gets really confusing. But De La Cruz is my husband's last name, but I never legally changed it on paper. I'm I'm a busy lady and we've been married for coming up on 5 years and I just never had time. But De La Cruz, yes, that is how it is pronounced. But if you're looking for like formal is gonna be under Magda, but
Oh,
I
it's so
digress.
fun. Yeah, I always ask because so my last name is Moats, and you would
Mhm.
be surprised how hard some people make that. I get Motez, Motis, and then some people just change it to Notes without even paying attention to the M. But anyway, everyone, Liana is a mom. She is a business owner. She is a content creator. And even more cool, she is a combat sports hobbyist. She has a background in law enforcement that we're going to talk about today, but left the profession a few years ago and went on to pursue a career in the animal care industry. And I am looking forward to learning more about that pivot and where she graduated the Catch Canine Trainers Academy and opened up her own dog boarding business. You are a busy, busy lady, Liana.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I
Yeah.
am.
And she also, of course, trains Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And we are going to talk about kind of a situation that she's going through and a topic that I know is important to everyone. And that is when we face injury in Jiu Jitsu. And, you know, Liana, I've been fortunate enough myself. So far, I'm going to knock on wood. At least I hope this desk is wood. You just never know what things are made of these days. But I've been fortunate enough not to have any injuries myself. Um, but yeah, just is there anything else you want to share about yourself before we kind of jump into things?
I mean, you covered the basics, the big parts of my life where, yeah, I'm a mom. I have a 13-year-old boy. And then former law enforcement. I dabble in some content creation, which we can talk about too. And then, yeah, I mean, I own a business now, which is very demanding. But I love what I do. And some other fun facts. We live on a 22-acre property, which I was trying to turn into a homestead, but I've got way too many other obligations right now. But we do have some chickens. We've gotten into a little bit of that, some of that self-sufficient type of living. But yeah, I mean, I think you covered kind of the main points of, the most important parts of my life so far.
So let's talk about, let's start with, I call it the origin story, your journey into jujitsu. And then we'll get into kinds of
Mhm.
law enforcement and the transition into animal care. But would love to kind of learn about your origin in jujitsu first. So, yeah, talk us through
Yeah,
that.
of course. So kind of how I got involved in it is where we want to start.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, of course. So the law enforcement was actually how I kind of funneled into jujitsu, because I got hired with the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office back in 2016. I cannot believe it is 10 years ago now.
Wow.
Um, and then I started training jujitsu in 2018. So almost around about 2 years into my law enforcement career. I started because there was a couple of reasons. One was because we dealt with a lot of hands-on situations. I worked in the jail for a majority of my career. I did 4 years in the jail, and then I did about just shy of a year in the transportation unit. So I was just transporting inmates to court, prison, all over the place. Um, but I got into it because we had to deal with a lot of hands-on situations in the jail. We were about an hour and a half north of Los Angeles, so we were a pretty busy
Ooh, wow.
facility,
Yeah.
dealt with some higher level offenders. And as a smaller female, obviously, it can be harder to control larger male subjects at times. And I realized that I didn't have what I needed to be safe and successful in my job. Um, and on top of that, I was also dealing with the mental aspects of the job. It is a very high stress job, a lot of depression, a lot of, other mental health issues, PTSD that you're dealing with. Also pretty toxic work environment, if I'm going to be honest. Um, so there was a lot going on, and I realized like I need to do something
Mm,
as far as self defense goes. So I found jujitsu and I started doing that. I trained pretty consistently up until the beginning of 2020. There was some stuff going on in my life, and I
mm.
got kind of inconsistent with it then. And then I ended up having to take a little bit of a break from it for a bit, and I got back into it in 2022 and have trained consistently since 2022.
Yeah, life happens. So I'm one of those who really got addicted to jujitsu, right? Like after my first class, and so when I was training at Alliance, I was training like twice a day sometimes, like just hours and hours on the mat. And then
Mhm.
I work picked up. The boys started sports, and all of them do different sports. They do basketball, baseball, and soccer. So. Uh, Gosh, I think it was several months that I had to take off. I've been lucky, like I said, about the injury and not having to take, any more than I would say, 4 or 5 months off. But,
Mhm.
for us that start, jujitsu a little later in life, right? And,
Yeah.
life always happens, always, always. And I was wondering, if you had found jujitsu, through law enforcement, because that's such a big
Mhm.
martial art, self-defense or whatever they're calling it, you know,
Mhm.
for the police departments, but a lot of them are training in jujitsu now, a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say I'm seeing a big emphasis being put on it too, which makes me happy because they need it.
yeah, yeah. And who do you train with now? So you started in
um,
in California.
Yes. So I've been kind of all over the place. So I started in California at a gym called Santa Maria Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And it was a wonderful place. Shout out to Chris, the owner there. He doesn't realize sometimes how much of a big impact he had on my life, but he did. And I didn't tell him enough. I was a little bit of a dumbass back then. I was in my early 20s, and you know, typical not the best decisions at my time in my life, but I don't give him as much credit as I should for how much he really had an impact on my life. But yeah, Santa Maria Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is where I started. Then I moved to Arizona at the end of 2020, beginning of 2021. And then when I trained in Arizona, I trained at a place called Solid Ground Jiu Jitsu. It was a smaller gym near where I lived. And then since I've been here in Tennessee, which I came here 2 years ago, I trained at Leviathan Brazilian Jiu Jitsu for about a year. And then I switched to Militia MMA, which is where I am at now.
So it's a full MMA gym, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, yeah. That's interesting. I know, we had kinda looked over some topics to, discuss during the episode today, but one question I
Mhm.
have, that you kind of came to mind as you were talking about kind of where you trained is, do you see a big difference in an MMA gym and a gym that solely focuses on jujitsu only? Like, pros, cons? I
Yes.
mean, it seems like it's probably a lot more aggressive, right?
Um, Some in a sense, kind of. It's a good balance where I'm at, and that's why I will sing the praises for Militia MMA, because it is a very good balance. But to answer your question, and then I'll kind of circle back. But to answer your question, yes, there is a difference in the style of jujitsu for sure. I actually like it better. I feel like I have learned the most in my year that I've been training at Militia MMA, just because the style that it is, it just clicks with my brain a little bit better and makes a little bit more sense to me. And I've been able to get better from it. But I did notice a difference. And as far as like, you said it's a little more aggressive. I, it's a good balance at Militia. They do a great job where it is definitely, a competitive fight gym, because we do have some
Yeah.
people that are pro training there. And he does really encourage us to get into competitions, but they have it, it's not some out of control Cobra Kai type of mess. So
Yeah,
they
that's
do
what
a
I
good
think
job
of
of
when I
like,
think of those gyms. Yeah, I think of that,
no,
right? Like
and
everybody's like
yeah,
breaking wood with their face and like in
no,
all these pads and kicking heavy bags.
no.
It's like,
No,
yeah.
it's not anything crazy like that. He does do a really good job of keeping it where it's still calm enough for someone like me, who's I do compete, but I'm definitely not on the level that a lot of, some of these other people that are training there are. But he does a good job of making it welcoming for people like me, but also still having that intensity level for those, pro competition type of fighters as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing you brought up was the impact of your professors and coaches over, time, especially the first, coach you had. And I think that I don't think that professors and coaches and people in these positions realize the positive impacts they have and life-changing impacts they have. And then on the flip side, we're seeing all this stuff in social media, the negative impacts that can happen, right? Like it's a big responsibility for these these
Yeah.
practitioners. Mm, yeah.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah. And I mean, there's good and bad in everything, but I think the good definitely outweighs the bad.
yeah. Yeah. So, getting us into kind of our first topic that we want to talk about, Liana, you are going through kind of a frustrating time right now, and that you're injured, and
Yeah.
talk me through your injury, if you don't mind, and kind of how that happened, and maybe your first thoughts when you realized that you were going to be off the mats for a while, which is one of the reasons I reached out because you did a post on social media and I was like, "Oh,
Mhm.
wow, we've never really had someone going through it on the show." So, yeah, talk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm dealing with a torn meniscus on my left knee, which is kind of a good thing because it could be a lot worse. So as far as injuries go, as far as like jujitsu related injuries go, that's kind of the lesser of the evils. So I do have things to be grateful for in a sense. But yeah, I had been dealing with like some issues with my left knee throughout the year last year. And then in December, I was rolling and it just shot up with pain and it felt like my knee came out of place. Like it was bad. But I, kind of just pushed it back into place and was like, it'll be fine. Um, I'm too busy for this. So I tried to just like take it easy for a little bit. We took vacation in January, so I wasn't training for a little bit. And I tried to just rest it and go, give it time to heal. But then at the beginning of this month, I was rolling again and it happened again, but the pain was so much worse this time around. And at this point, it had been a problem now for 3 months, a consistent daily problem for 3 months where it was actually impacting my life. So that was on February 4th. I remember the exact date. So much pain, felt like it came out of place again. And so I pushed it back into place, went home and was like, I'm just going to sleep it off. We're going to, it'll be fine. Tried to ignore it again. My typical response. Um, the pain kept me up all night. That's how bad it was. And I mean, as you can see, like I've got a throat tattoo. I've, gave birth without an epidural. Like when I'm in pain, if I say I'm in pain, it's hurting.
Yeah.
So kept me up all night. That's how bad it was. And then I got up around 3:30 in the morning to try to go to the bathroom and I fell because I could not put weight on my leg. So finally, I was put in a position where I was forced to seek medical attention for it. I couldn't ignore it any longer. So that's when
Right.
I found out there is a torn meniscus, and it is unfortunately going to require surgery to fix.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
Are you're scheduled for surgery? Is that that's gotta be a little anxiety
Yeah.
inducing. I so I was in the military for, I don't know, a good part of my adult life, about 15, 16 years, and I was airborne, jumped out of planes. I mean, I was the easiest recruit ever. When I tell this story, I went into the recruiter's office and said, "I want 2 things. I want a job I can use when I get out, right? And I wanna jump out of airplanes." Well, I got both pretty easy, but anyway, long story short, on one of my, jumps, I burned in, right? Parachuting, my main parachute didn't open, and my reserve deployed just enough to slow me down to where it didn't kill me, but I tore my knee up, bruised my spine, like, it jacked me up, and out of all of the injuries, the knee pain is what has stayed with me all of these years, and I there's something about, because my wife had, um, I don't know, did she have a knee replacement? No, she had a ligament put into her knee and or something, and it was and, we have 4 kids together, and she said it's unbearable pain, but yeah,
Yeah.
just I couldn't imagine having to
Bad.
go through that right now. Um, what
Yeah.
do you miss most about training?
The outlet. For me, the just when I'm grappling, it just is kind of my happy place, like everyone has their coping mechanisms and everyone has their enjoyment that they do to maybe like escape life or just to get you in a
Yeah.
better mental place. And for me, that was grappling. That's where I've channeled a lot of my mental health issues that I deal with, like grappling and jujitsu has really helped me through a lot. So I miss having that release.
Yeah. I think for me too, that would be the biggest thing, because
Yeah.
um, it's such a not so much, well, it's a big physical part for me, but it's also
Mm.
huge mental, like, stress outlet, and not to be able, like, to be and not the situation of where life kinda comes in, you can't train for a couple weeks, but, like, where you're gonna be down for a while. You're not gonna be rolling for,
Yeah.
however long. I I
Mhm.
don't know what I would do. I would feel, and maybe you do feel this, I don't know. Um, there would be, for me, sort of like a mild depression kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I mean, is that something you feel? Are you staying connected with your gym, with the people?
Oh, yeah, I've still been going in and watching, and, like, if there are things I can drill, I will do them. So I'm
Mm,
still engaging at going in. I've did some striking, some boxing on Monday night, so I have been working a little bit on that. I just have to be very careful while I'm doing it, not to turn my knees while I'm doing it, but I have been able to at least work on some striking technique. So I'm still involved. It's not the same though. I will say that it's not the same, but I am still going to my gym and at least trying to still learn while I'm dealing with this, and not let this completely remove me from jujitsu and from combat
mm,
sports. I definitely am not getting that same mental release. So yeah, the depression was really bad at first when I realized like, oh gosh, I'm going to have surgery and I'm going to be out. And this is a whole legit thing. And it was frustrating
yeah.
because I might go into a little bit of a left field here. I apologize, but I had made a lot of progress with my jujitsu last year, like during 2025, and everyone around me can say the same thing. Like that was where I made the most progress with my jujitsu and in my life too, because I quit drinking a year ago, which was a big accomplishment for me. But a big part of how I was able to do that was because I poured so much into training and I competed 5 times
Mm.
last year. I was
Oh,
training
wow.
consistently, 4 times a week, like really putting a lot into it. And it showed I got better. I mean, I actually won a gold medal back in
Yeah.
September after a few losses that I took. But yeah, it's depressing because it's like, man, I just made all this progress and
Mm.
now look at where I am. And it's now trying to figure out how to maintain my mental space too, because I deal with a lot of mental health issues, some of it
Yeah.
related to law enforcement times. It was just, I've been through a lot of other not so great stuff in my life, growing up and whatnot. But that was a big way for me to stay in a good place and to quit drinking and to keep
Yeah.
moving in positive directions with my life. And now I don't have that. So we're kind of this is just another challenge, but I'm
Yeah.
still at least showing up to learn for now.
I could see that being super important, staying connected. I think I would be in the same situation where I would still go in, do a little bit of what we can. And I know some of the things we're going to talk about is kind of, your thoughts around what injured practitioners can do. And I see you have a lot of hardware back there. Are those all jujitsu medals, or there's some MMA? What's going on back there?
They're
That's a
they're all
lot.
jujitsu ones. They're all jujitsu
Nice.
ones. Some of them are I call them participation medals because there was literally only me and one one other girl
you
in our
you Liz, that's that's so bittersweet. And you see that a lot in IBJJF, especially. So I'm Masters
Yeah.
4 now. Masters
Mhm.
4. Oh my god, I'm Masters 4. um it creeps up on you. And you see that, and it's bittersweet because you're like, oh, that's kind of cool, but kind of sucks. But I'm
Yeah.
gonna get a cool
Yeah,
picture,
kind of.
especially if you trained like super hard,
Yeah,
like for months, and then nobody comes in. No, I
yeah.
look, I hear too. One of the things I want to call out that you said is it's just I don't think people realize how healing jujitsu can be. And there's these two ladies that wrote this book. And I always forget the name of it. So, because I have PTSD, I did 3 tours to Iraq, one to Afghanistan, one
Mhm.
to Kuwait. I mean, I think I spent 6 years in combat zones, and um, but the therapeutic aspect of like
Yeah.
jujitsu and martial arts is just
Mhm.
it's it's phenomenal. It's
Yeah.
hard to explain even.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you can't.
it,
It really does help though, it really does.
And you would think that it would add to your trauma, right? Like getting smashed under like people or getting kicked in the face, but it's such an outlet. And
Oh,
and I
yeah.
and I again, I think for me that would be the biggest struggle is trying to figure out, okay, I can't slip back into the way I was. Like you said, you just overcame so much last year, and um,
Mhm.
I think that would probably be the most challenging thing. And with that, what are some of the things that you're doing to kind of keep yourself besides going in? I know you talked a little bit about that. Is, are you pouring more into your business? I know sounds like you have something that you're passionate about that's also your job, which is cool.
Yeah.
What are you doing to keep yourself on the straight and narrow, so to speak?
So, yeah, I mean, my business keeps me very busy.
Mhm.
That's one thing. I stay very busy with that. And then as far as what I'm doing, I'm just focusing again my business, focusing on my content creation, just
Mhm.
doing stuff on Instagram, messing around with that, which is something I kind of just recently got into. So I've been redirecting some focus into making content and having fun with that. And do go to the regular gym, and I've tried to start working on like some upper body strength building, which is not the same. It does not do the same thing for
Yeah.
me. mentally that jujitsu does, but it's at least something somewhere for me to go, something for me to do that I can, pour myself into mentally to stay focused in a positive way. And that's kind of where I've just been redirecting.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you think about, well, one of the reasons definitely wanted us to connect and have a conversation about injuries is a lot of times uh, people who are injured, a lot they're injured. It seems like early on in their career, right? Kind of when they're white
Mhm,
belt and stuff like that, or blue belt, like both of us. And you are a blue belt, right?
mhm.
I'm pretty
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
seeing
yeah,
your blue
yeah,
belt.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Blue belt.
we're in good company
Mhm,
here. Yeah, I think blue belt's one of the most frustrating belts ever. Of course, that's I only have
mhm.
white belt to compare it to. But um, what one of the things is I really wanted us to have this type of discussion so those that are in the situation like you are in, kind of sidelined here and going through all this. What are some of the things that you're learning or have learned that you could share with some injured practitioners, and maybe around what are some of the things that they can still control, um, what are some of the things that they should do, right? 2 or 3 things that they should make sure they do to keep themselves, like we're talking about, mentally healthy
Yeah.
and things like that.
I'd say definitely don't give up on your combat sport as a
Mhm.
hobby. Don't give up. Don't just say, "You know what? This is it. I'm done. No more." Um, do not give up on that. Do not give up on yourself because you have to remember that while yes, this may be a little bit of a setback or a roadblock, you've made so much progress already. And if you just give up, you're throwing all that you did down the drain. So you have to focus about on what you've done so far and kind of keep that as the motivation to keep yourself going despite what you may be facing in this moment. M-
Mhm.
Most of the time I'm pretty safe to say like this is temporary. You're going to get it fixed, you're going to recover, and it may take a little while, but there's still a future ahead of you. And you may have to do some things within limitation, like I'm definitely not going to be getting back out there and competing anytime in the very near future, but I can still build back up and I can still go in and learn and roll. I'm thinking of what else we can do with not giving up. Um Making sure that, in my case where you're using jujitsu as a way, with if you used it with quitting drinking, you're using it for mental health, making sure that you're still finding healthy ways to supplement that without
Right.
going back to those negative habits that you used to do. Um, and how can I put this? I'd say just doing what you can, like I mentioned, I'm still showing up, I'm still learning. There's still things you can do. You don't have to completely remove yourself from combat sports entirely. And most coaches, I guarantee, will work with you. They'll find ways to still help you be an active participant in the sport and in the gym with the limitations that you may be facing in the moment.
Yeah, I think those are great shares, and um, I would agree with all of those. I I try to think about the things that I would do, and I think for me, it's just it would be staying connected because so I'm not the best at like going out and making friends. I used to be when I was young and like in high school almost 30 years ago. But something about maybe when I left the military, I just kind of um, became more secluded, and going out and making friendships seemed more exhausting than anything. But then when I found jujitsu, now like these are my people, and it's so crazy because
Mhm.
we're so different, all of us, right? We may have different, you know, political almost said reviews, but views. We may have different, religions, whatever. All of us have different professions, uh, different
Mhm.
backgrounds, things like that. So, um, for me, I think staying connected would definitely be uh, one of the things that I would have to do. I think without it would
Yeah.
be pretty bad. Do you find yourself studying like films and things on YouTube's and IG and like I don't know if you journal or
No.
anything like that. Do you do anything like that?
No, I don't. But I mean, I do my content creation, which it's funny you mentioned about like how we all come from different backgrounds and views. I actually had a reel showing talking about that
Yeah,
that I did a couple weeks ago where it mentioned that same thing where it was like there's a place where people from different religions and backgrounds and whatever all come together and it showed the mats. Um but no, I don't do any of that. But I I don't really watch YouTube or anything like that with jujitsu, but I come across things on Instagram just because I am pretty frequently scrolling to get content ideas for what I do.
right.
So if I see something cool, I'll watch it and save it. But I'm still just making sure that I stay connected because I still can learn from showing up and watching at the gym.
Yeah, yeah. And half the stuff on YouTube and IG is only works on like if they're seriously dead, laying there dead, not doing anything, right? Like some of the stuff is kind of crazy. Um, well, let's take some time and kind of pivot. Thanks so much for sharing kind of what you're going through. I know it takes a lot of vulnerability to come on and talk about things like mental health and things like that. But let's pivot to your time in law enforcement.
Mhm.
I know you talked about finding jujitsu through law enforcement, but how did you come to get into law enforcement? Maybe your decision to leave, and then we'll talk about I know a topic you and I want to discuss, kind of the epidemic of out of shape first responders. But yeah, just let's just start there.
Yeah. So how I got into law enforcement, I'm kind of just random. I was waitressing at a casino, actually. That was what I did before that. I was a beverage waitress. Those little girls that walk around in the skirts and serve drinks to people gambling.
Yep.
And the sheriff's department was contracted with the reservation that the casino was on. So I got to know some of the deputies because it's night shift and, there's not much going on at 3 in the morning and you just kind of start talking to people. And they were telling me, like, oh, we're going to be doing a large amount of hiring for the jail for what we were called custody deputies, because in California, it's a little bit different than it is a lot of other places where corrections officers in California are considered sworn peace officers. You can make an
Mm.
arrest. It's a totally different setup, but we don't need to go into all the little finite details of that. But they were like, we're going to be hiring for custody deputies. You should put in, they always need women. And I'm like, I don't know, like, am I qualified? Like, all I've done is waitress. Like, I didn't even really finish high school. I mean, I have my equivalency diploma, but
Yeah.
I had my son when I was 17, so it's like I don't
Yep.
have much. Like,
Oh,
I,
same
I
here.
thought
Been
I
in that
can't do
boat.
this.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
My
I
first.
can't do this job. I didn't know. Mm,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you
but
there.
Yeah. So they were like, well, we're going to be hiring. And then some of the security guards at the casino were talking about putting in for it. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll do it. And they're like, you're going to do it? Like questioning me because it's like I'm just this little girl walking around in a skirt serving drinks. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna try. So I applied. I did all the tests and I got hired. And it turned out being a job that I actually really enjoyed doing. Like I said, I stayed with it for 5 years, and then, I enjoyed doing it. I did quite a few things while I was with the department. I worked in intake for a while where you're, booking people in when they're coming in off the streets when they've just gotten arrested, doing that on night shift for a good chunk of time. That was a lot of fun. Um,
A lot of stories
then
there, I'm
I was
sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I was a training officer for a while too, for about 2 years with my department. I would train the new custody deputies, and then I worked in transportation for a while as well. And then when we moved to Arizona, I decided to just look around and start doing new things, but I had a really hard time finding it's like when you talked about like getting out of the military, it's kind of similar to that. Like it's
Yeah,
hard. It's hard
it
to go
is.
into normal life when you've gotten so used to dealing with people in a certain way and dealing with certain situations and that being your normal and then trying to go to what everybody else thinks is normal. It's tough.
Oh yeah, yeah, extremely tough. I remember so my last unit in the military was the 4-4 Cav at Fort Riley, um, like First Infantry Division, and that was my last unit, and then I transitioned into Aetna, the healthcare insurer. I was working in Hartford at their headquarters, doing veteran hiring, like recruiting. So
Mhm.
professionally, I'm a executive in recruiting and talent acquisition for healthcare, a big healthcare company. But so my career has been recruiting. But I remember like the transition was just so frustrating, and what I would see these executives and these leaders freaking out over the smallest things. And they're like, "Why aren't you stressed about this missed deadline or this, you know, big meeting?" I'm like, "Well, no one's shooting at me, like nothing's blowing up around me. So why are you freaking out?" Like, and like, but you're exactly right, and it's just that adjustment's insane. I mean, I still think about it now all these years later, um, just some of the things that I went through. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough.
So, you mentioned you transitioned, out of
Mhm.
law enforcement. Were there
Mhm.
some kinda aha moments where you're like, "Yeah, this isn't for me?" Um, and it looks like you kind of transitioned into opening your own business. It's around
Uh-huh.
animal, care, so I'm assuming that's something that you're
Mhm.
super passionate about. Kinda talk me
Mhm.
through that.
Yeah. So, I just kind of had that moment. I think a lot of people, when they know that that's like this is just not for me anymore.
Yeah.
So I left that profession. I kind of searched around and dabbled in some civilian public service jobs when
Okay.
we lived in Arizona. Um, did some of those, but it was hard. I was not cut out for being in an office at a desk and sitting still. Like even right now, I can't sit still.
Yeah.
But and just dealing. It's just hard to deal with things when you're so used to dealing with people and situations in a certain manner.
Mhm.
But I did. I got into animal care kind of randomly. Um, we I was needing to pick up some extra income, and so, I started pet sitting on the side, like, on the weekends when I wasn't working my regular job, and I did not realize how much there was a need for trustworthy, ethical animal care. I never realized, like, how hard it can be to find that. So my little
Wow.
side hustle turned into a very popular demand for pet sitting where I was in Arizona, I was doing like in-home pet sitting, like where I'd go to the people's houses. But then we were blessed to find this property here in Tennessee that has an
Mm.
actual kennel building on it. So I was able to come here and open an actual dog boarding business where people will leave their dogs at the kennel with us, on the same property that I live on. But I realized how much there was a need for that. So
Yeah.
I started going that route because the stories that I have heard with animal care, it's pretty sad. Um,
Mm.
because you have a lot of people that unfortunately get into it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
So I went through the catch, like you mentioned, I went through the Catch Canine Trainers Academy. Um, so I don't offer dog training as a service right now, but I do have education regarding it. for positive reinforcement dog training. So that's all reward based training methods. Like we don't use any kind of punitive or aversive management techniques with dogs. I'm also a certified fear-free professional in the boarding industry. So same goes for my kennel. We don't use any kind of punitive or aversive corrective management techniques with the dogs that are in our care.
Right.
Um, and so that's kind of how I got into that, was just seeing the need for it and it being something that I enjoyed doing. I was good working with animals and I enjoyed it a lot more than working with people. And it was something I could work into where I'm able to move around. I'm not stuck sitting at a desk, and
Yeah.
it's something where I felt comfortable with it, and it's done really well.
Yeah, I think it's I think it's nice in life for those of us who can, you know, work in a positive environment. Like you said, you knew for a fact you weren't a sit in office type person. But when we get to work kind of in our passion, right? I'm lucky in that uh, there were times where I had to sit in the office, and I don't like it so much. I work from home now, but I do get to work with people a lot, and
Mhm,
people are kind of my passion. Um, this is the third podcast I think I've watched. I just obviously like talking more than anything. Um, but it's got to be a good feeling, right? Every day to wake up and kind of work in something that you enjoy. And I think that works even better for your customers, knowing that they're
mhm.
leaving their, I mean, most people look at their pets as their children, like it almost should be a
Mhm.
daycare, right?
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Mhm,
it's just gotta be a plus, to hear, the owner of a business kinda talk passionately about, like, "This is what I am here to do." But before we
mhm.
continue to talk more about, the business, let's back up and talk about, I know, a topic you and I, kinda started discussing in our intro call when we kinda first connected is, just overall physical health and the importance
Mhm.
of it in with first responders. I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
you've seen firsthand how it can positively
Mhm.
and negatively impact those, say, in law enforcement or what have you. I mean, what are some of your initial thoughts around? Uh, it looks like almost an epidemic going on there,
Yeah. So there definitely needs to be more emphasis on wellness in the first responder community,
right?
100%. Um, I was not very healthy when I was working there either. You know, you eat most people are not eating well because and you also have to look at some of the factors of it too. You know, you're working long hours, there's a lot of
Right.
mandatory overtime because you're short staffed. So there are factors there, but it's now that I'm older. I'm sitting here looking back, I'm like, it's not an excuse, like, I should have done
No.
better for myself. But there is not really some departments, I think there probably is, but I think a lot of them, the health and wellness standards and priority just kind of does not get addressed the way that it should. You have so many overweight cops,
Yeah.
and it's sad. It really is sad, and a lot of them aren't training combat sports either.
Yep.
And it's a job where you really have to be in good shape physically because you have to be able to control combative subjects.
Yeah.
So I think that definitely needs to be more um, prioritize the wellness, the physical fitness, eating better. And I think about it, at the jail, they would give us a lunch while we were working there. They would have staff dining area, and it was always really disgusting food, like always
Pizza, tacos. Yeah. Yeah.
very
Uh,
carb heavy, fried, just, not healthy foods. And so I think, yeah, it definitely um, needs to be prioritized more for our first responders to have them in better health.
Are there wellness programs in place? Like, I think you said you worked at a department close to LA, and I would imagine, like,
Mhm.
there would be some type of wellness coaching or I mean, is there anything like that?
It
No?
really wasn't that much, no. I mean, there
Well,
really
I
wasn't too much of an emphasis on it, surprisingly, at least when I was there. I don't know,
it's
maybe things have changed. I've been gone for a while now, but,
it
yeah,
sounds
there
like a
was I
need,
mean,
an
when you
opportunity. I think about the
Yeah,
military, right? And in my mind, it like, it's obvious the reason soldiers need to be at a certain degree of physical fitness. I mean, you have to run with body armor
yes.
on and packs and weapons and still like jump and all of this, right? There's agility, there's stamina, there's all of that. But like, I don't see a huge difference between that and a firefighter and a police officer and even, EMTs, like first responders. Like, there should be a degree, a level of general fitness. And I think I know nothing about this. That's why I said I think. Like, I would imagine to get into like something like the police academy, there's minimal
Mhm,
fitness standards you have to meet. I don't know if there's a test or
mhm,
whatever you have to take, but
yes,
like in the army, like every six
yes.
months you had to pass an APFT, right? A physical fitness test.
Mhm,
Same with all the other four plus four brand. Well, I guess it's Space Force now, so five. Crazy. Don't get me on that. Five branches
mhm.
of service. Um,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, I guess my question is like, do you think like they should move to something like that? Like this is mandatory standards, checks and balances kind of deal.
Yes, I do, and there is when you first get hired, at least the department I was with, and I think, there are a lot of departments that also do it. There is when you initially get hired, a physical test you have to pass. There is
Right.
I know we had to do I can't remember the exact test because this is 10 years ago, but we had to do, like a dummy drag and a run and push-ups. I mean, we had to pass, and then we had to go through the police academy. Well, corrections academy, which is crazy to me that some states and departments don't have an academy for corrections officers. Um, I've
How's
learned
that?
since moving
So
to
you can go
each
from working at
job.
Dollar General to correction officer.
Yeah, which is crazy to me, but we had to go through an academy where it was, running push-ups. It was, paramilitary style academy,
Yeah.
where we had to do a lot of physical fitness. We were running a lot and doing push-ups every day, um, and a lot of PT. But then after that, there's nothing. And there wasn't any like reoccurring, like you said in the military, where you have these reoccurring standards that you're held to and these tests you have to pass. There was none of that. It was your initial test to get in, you get through the academy, but then after that, there's no more physical agility that you have to maintain.
Yeah.
And I think there definitely should be, but I think a lot of the issue we might run into with that is because so many departments are so short staffed already
Uh,
that are they really going to implement this? Probably not, because they're so desperate just to have people there to fill that position.
yeah, that's a great point. And if I think about it, um, so it's been about it's been 14 years since I left. Um,
Mhm.
so I was medically retired in 2014. Went to the sandbox one too many times and got injured. Um, but yeah, I see when I was getting ready to leave, I was a senior leader on the enlisted side, and I remember that from boot camp, from basic training, we were getting soldiers who couldn't meet height and weight standards, and it was because numbers were short, right? So I don't know what it looks like now, but I bet you like this uh, issue of critical understaffing plays a huge part
Mhm.
in what we're accepting and putting out on the streets and putting out on the battlefield. And you and I, and here's something um that I think about. I don't know how much of it is let's say a BMI issue rather than hey, I can protect myself, because let me tell you, I've rolled with some really out of shape people that have killed me because they knew, you get an out of
They
shape
know what
brown
they're doing.
belt in their 50s, in their mid 50s, and you tell me if you think you could handle them in the street, because I don't think you can.
Yeah.
Because they
No.
crushed me, and I'm pretty in shape. And
Yeah.
no, so I guess the discussion or the question, um, conversation here is, if departments aren't going to invest in, wellness programs and all these things that can be expensive, and hold people to a certain BMI or body fitness type, shouldn't they be
Mhm.
preparing them and investing into some type of martial arts training, like jujitsu, like a requirement kind of deal? Like, hey, you will go to X amount
I
of classes at this MMA school.
I agree. I think it would be fantastic to get law enforcement trained in jujitsu because I know that when I was learning it, even in the beginning, like it was helping me at my job. It was helping me deal with hands-on situations and do
Mm,
so in an appropriate manner. Um, I think the issue with that is just again the funding and the organization of it, and getting people to want to do it. And that's a big thing I see, at least here in the South, because I know you and I aren't too far from each other.
yeah,
The first responders and law enforcement here are grossly underpaid.
yeah,
And when you're not paying people a decent wage,
yep,
I mean, one, good luck getting good people in the first place, but then getting them to take time to go and do these extracurricular things for that position is also going to be very hard. But I think
hmm,
that it would be a very, as a taxpayer, I think it would be a very worthwhile investment to get our law enforcement some type of programs where they are getting incentivized to go and train because it helps. It will help them. I think it would definitely help um, use of force lawsuits
yep,
because at least I found it helps you be able to control a combative subject without really hurting them.
yeah.
You know, um,
That's a great
so
point,
it's
right? That's a
yes,
great point.
yes,
Is, it would, because that's all you see on the news now, right? Is,
yeah,
officer
hmm
pulled gun and killed, suspect. What it and look, I've been shot at. I've shot at people. I get it. It's a high anxiety thing, and especially the first time. Um, but if you have this other alternative confidence, like, hey, look, this guy's
hmm
resisting me. I don't have to pull out a taser and or mix up and shoot him with my gun or something. I don't have to even pull my gun, because you know
yeah,
what? I'm about to get this dude in a Kimura. And they're going to do
yeah,
exactly what I want them to do, or I'm going
yeah,
to, I'm doing a wrist lock on them or something, and I guarantee you, we're not going to have any issues putting the cuffs on and things like that. But like,
definitely.
there has to be a
I
standardization across the board, and then when it goes to pay, like
I
what you said, there's such a pay
mhm.
inequity in this country when it comes to teachers and law enforcement. I mean, out in Cali,
Yeah,
you got to have a master's degree to get that six-figure income in like 8 to 10 years. Here, I don't know any
yeah.
law enforcement patrol officers making six figures.
No,
I mean,
no, you're
there's
not,
not a
and I mean,
county or a
I
state
was
in the Southeast.
no, and I was making 6 figures working in the jail in California. I mean, because but we had way more training and certifications than any other
Exactly.
corrections officer seen elsewhere. So there's that to account for as
Mhm.
well. Like I see the county I live in here, their jail, they don't even like it's just here's the keys and go. It's
Right.
honestly, it's quite terrifying. It's quite terrifying. But
Well, and maybe that's
they're
the
definitely
incentive, right? Maybe that's an
yeah,
incentive. Hey, you go get this training, you get these skills and certified, you're going to get the higher pay echelon.
yeah. Oh yeah. And it definitely would help to have that. And I think that getting more cops to train jujitsu would really be beneficial and it would help the departments because like I said, you're gonna have them they're gonna be able to better respond to situations where they have to use force. Therefore, it reduces the lawsuits. It keeps everybody safe. It keeps your officers safe. It keeps the public safe. Because like you said, you see these videos online and there was one I watched last week. I had reposted it on my story and it was physically painful for me to watch it where it was involving a female cop and she shot the guy and I was just watching it and I'm like what is going on? Like, she didn't even try to control him physically with her body or her hands or anything. And I can say, I mean, I was never, like I said, I was not on the street. I did transportation for a while, but even in the jail, I mean, you're dealing with combative people a lot.
Yeah.
And you have people with weapons in there still, but out of the
Mhm.
5 years that I worked in that position, I never used my pepper spray and I used my taser once. And that's because the guy got a hold of some scissors and started stabbing himself in the neck. So,
Oof.
obviously, a situation like that,
Yeah.
you have you're not gonna go hands-on with somebody. I'm not saying that we should be, you know, going hands-on with people who have weapons, by no means. Um, and by no means am I some use of force expert either, but, you know, it's the jujitsu helped me avoid having to use those tools in a lot of situations.
Mm. I, I think so every how do I wanna say this? Um, every profession has, these segments in it, right? And I think in law
Mhm.
enforcement, right, what you're talking a lot about is your time as a corrections officer, and I don't see how you would allow yourself to be in that position and not have some kind of formal training to protect yourself. Like if someone grabs you or and again, I'm not saying it has to necessarily be jujitsu. It probably shouldn't be karate,
Yeah.
but it definitely um I just think jujitsu is probably most effective there. But you need
Yes.
to have something because
Yeah.
how could you not walk into your job every day terrified? And if you're scared and if you know you feel unprepared, I mean, you're in there with these people aren't just in there by accident. They're in there because they have been convicted. They are in, especially if it's a state or federal prison, right? You don't just go and hang out there, right?
Yeah.
These people are in there, and a lot of them have bad intention, especially I would imagine when it comes to females and to
Mhm.
not be able
Yes.
to defend yourself, and definitely not,
Yeah.
um, a male female type thing because I know
Mhm.
some females that can mess some people up and mess me up on the mat
Yeah.
still. So, but no, it's just it's kind of some random thoughts on it.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely.
So if you could think of um, maybe top 2 or 3 things you would love to see law enforcement or first responders implement over the next, 2 to 5 years to help with what you and I see as kind of an epidemic. And I don't think too many people would disagree, maybe, but I don't see how you
Yeah.
could go on social media and do so. What would you say you'd like to see?
Um, I guess just taking better care of themselves, getting more of that emphasis of eating better, keeping their health better, staying in better shape. That's something I would definitely like to see for more first responders is just taking better care of themselves, and it's for your own well-being too. Like
Mhm.
not just with the intention for your job, but just for yourself. Taking care of yourself is so important, and it'll help you mentally too because the job is very draining mentally. But if you're, you can take steps and that's just in general in life. You can take steps to feel better, and it makes a difference when your diet is good, you're not filling yourself up with crappy food, you feel better. And in turn, that helps with your mental clarity too. Same with exercising. It again, you feel better. You just genuinely feel better when you're taking better care of your body.
Yeah. Yeah, I think those would be great. Like I said, I think the implementation of some kind of standardized physical fitness evaluation every X amount of months. I mean, I hope we see some changes in it. But I mean, honestly, who knows if we will? Because it goes to the great point you made is a lot of this happens because of understaffing, and until more people, right, want to be corrections officers, and I I don't think that's something I would have the courage to do. I mean, that's a dangerous job. I kind of left all that stuff back in my past. I'm more of this the safe, comfortable, cozy jobs these days. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's a catch 22, right? And remember when I was in my MBA program, they taught us, they call it it's either the fool's choice or the sucker's choice. Basically, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? And
Yeah.
you know, it may be the situation there. So, well,
Mhm.
one thing, Liana, sometimes I like to do, I guess, is just play a little kind of rapid fire question thing. And I didn't send you
Yeah.
these questions. So
Alright.
a couple of them may
Well,
put you on the spot and just uh, feel free to say pass or what have you. But it's related to jujitsu. So nothing,
yeah.
too crazy. Do you prefer gi or no gi?
No-gi.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna
I
say that.
I don't
Your
know.
whole
I've
content, I
barely done
don't think I've ever seen you in a gi on your content, so, yeah.
it's very rare these days.
Well, I mean, jujitsu has to have those people too, so, no. I have to I'm a fan of gi because I'm old and not athletic, and I have to slow people down, so, um,
It's on my
okay, so thinking about, anybody from the past or present, and it could be current training partners or what, but who would you say that you would most like to roll with? For example, mine is Holes Gracie. I would love to do a roll or a training session or a seminar or something with Holes if he were still alive.
Oh gosh.
That's a good question. Most people have
I
to
know
think.
that's a
Yeah.
tough one because it's like, I have to think of, like, professional, um oh boy, that's a tough one. Professional, like, we're talking, like, professional-wise, who
It
we
could be
would
professional. It could be an Instagram person that you know. It could be somebody. Well, you
oh
kind of
boy.
train and roll with your professor, I'm sure already, but
Yeah.
yeah, just anybody. Like me, another person, I wouldn't mind rolling with Tom Hardy. I think that's cool. He's a purple belt now, and he would absolutely kill me, but I
Mhm.
think it'd be a lot of fun.
Um, that's a good question. There's some girls I see on Instagram doing content. There's a few of them that I would probably enjoy rolling with. I know there's one girl, I think I've come across her videos a couple of times, and I guess I'm kind of just drawn out of the bag at this point because I don't really know how to answer this. But there's one girl I see her videos a lot. Her name is Taylor Moore, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
I
think I've
see her
seen
vid
some of her stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
She's a smaller girl, but she's like I've seen her do some, like, really awesome guillotines.
Hmm.
And I like her, like, whenever I come across her videos because there's not just one submission that I see her going for. Like,
Hmm.
she gets all sorts of different, like, she'll do ankle locks sometimes and she does guillotines. Like, some people, they have like their specialty that they're gonna use to go for the submission. But like this girl, whenever her videos pop up, like she's always got something different that she's using as a submission. And I think that's really cool because it's like
Yeah,
you don't know what they're gonna do. So she's one that I kind of admire quite a bit, that I've come across her stuff
yeah.
um on social media a few times.
I like watching Helena. She posts some pretty good content. Helena, I think
Okay.
Carver.
Mhm.
She's really cool.
She's the
And
big one right now
yeah, with
in
the
the scene.
pigtails, right? A lot of people are like, "Yeah, I like the girl with the
Mhm.
pigtails." I would like to. Um, what's your favorite submission
I've
or top
had
3?
a lot of well, top 3 okay. Well, I've had good success with guillotines. I'm pretty good with those.
Okay.
Um, if I can get the back, sometimes I can do some decent rear naked chokes. I mean, which is like the number 1 most used
Oh,
submission in the
every yeah,
UFC.
yeah, yep.
Uh, so that one, and then I've been this past year, I mean, before I got into it, I started getting a lot more into triangles and getting a lot more success with triangles. So I'd say that one's definitely on my list right now just because I've been hitting a lot more success with it recently.
So I have an embarrassing share when it comes to triangles. I am like 4 years into training, 4 and some change, and I'm just now, like, getting to where I can get through the proper mechanics of a triangle. Like, for the longest time, like, I would, put the arm on the wrong side of my body, and then I fixed that, and then I would I would hip escape instead of rotate my body, so they would just, like, pull their head out, and it's so crazy because most of my I would say 90 plus percent of my submissions are chokes, just because
Mhm.
there's a little more athleticism in the locks,
Yeah.
right? For an arm bar, you have to lean, spin, all that, and, um,
Yeah.
but I'm excited. I'm feeling pretty dangerous with triangles now after 4 years of training, and it's the most one of the fundamental submissions we learn, but it's effective. Um
It is, yeah, and I mean, but just like with all of them, like, you have to do it right for it to be effective, and sometimes it can take a
Exactly,
minute
exactly.
to get that right angle. It's all about the angles, so
It's
it's,
always
I don't
yeah.
think that's anything to be embarrassed of.
It's always been real steppy. Like, I'm not into steppy
Mhm.
jujitsu where, like, show me something I can do with, like, 3 movements or less, and that's why chokes actually, I'm doing a lot of lapel stuff now, and that's fun.
Mhm.
Um, but, no, what is, kind of a last question here, and this,
Mhm.
put you on the spot type questioning is, what's your most memorable moment from the mat?
Oh, man. Um,
These are so on the spot questions, I get it. Yeah.
that's so hard. I'm trying to think. I guess, like, I'd say when I won my competition, that's probably always gonna be the memorable. It was the first win that I had, um, because it was such an accomplishment for me
Yeah,
when I won. Like, I worked so hard, and I lost multiple times before that, but I
yeah.
didn't give up, and I kept going. So I'd say definitely the first time that I won at a competition will always have a special feeling with me.
Oh, it's an amazing feeling, right?
Mhm.
So when I first competed as a white belt, I won on points. Um, I won that match. It was like 27 or 28 to, like, 2 because he got the takedown. But what I was doing I don't know if I knew I was doing this, but I would get into his half guard, and I would escape half guard to mount, and then I would let him get me into half guard and escape into mount,
Oh,
but the whole time I was trying to submit him, I just couldn't, but I didn't realize I was doing this transition back and forth, so I was getting like
yeah,
4, 4,
points.
4, 4. It's like
Yeah.
and, um, but then I think some of my saddest times have come at competition. Um and it's not that so much that I lost, but how I lost, and very kind of in my mind I think I put a lot of pressure on myself. I'm starting to realize that in this conversation. Maybe I put a little too much pressure on myself because I, I went to pull half guard. I don't know if you know who, Bernardo Faria is, and, he pulls
Mhm.
half guard this certain way. I mean, half guard's this whole game. And I'd went to one of his seminars, or actually he had done a seminar at Alliance, and it was amazing. And, he showed me how he pulls half guard for standing. But I was going against a wrestler, college wrestler, and, when I went to do it, basically, long story short, I pulled the guy right into side control, and not only that, dude fell into like a paper cutter choke. I mean, the match was over in like 20 to 30 seconds, and this was my first competition as a blue belt, and I was just like, "Oh my god, that was terrible."
Mhm. That's
And
tough.
it was,
That's a
it
tough one.
was, and I still think about it, and
Mhm.
I actually haven't competed since, and it's not that,
Oh,
there's been life stuff that's kept me
yeah,
away from
yeah,
competing, but, um, it does it's kinda like a plus and a minus when it comes to competition. It can be some of your
yeah.
best memories and some of your worst, right?
I've had some not so good memories from them too. There's been some tough losses I took that were that were not fun, that were, I'd won the one that sucks. Well, there's a few, but back in April, the competitor I was supposed to have didn't show up. So they threw me with some girl that was, bigger and younger and in the pro
Yeah.
division, and like I got handed to me, but like
Yeah.
it sucked because it was like, this wasn't supposed to happen.
Right.
Like this I wasn't supposed to be going up against this girl. I was supposed to have a competitor in my age and weight bracket, and then I get
Mhm.
stuck with something else, and here I am, losing within a minute and a half, and it's like it wasn't supposed to go like this, but
Yeah, it's frustrating, especially all the time you put into
yeah,
training, like, you're training for, like, your weight, your division,
yep,
your speed, your tempo, and then you get this ultra competitor that you haven't like, you could probably do a lot better if you spent 2 or 3 months training for somebody like that, but what do you do, right? Um
yeah.
Well, Liana, this has been a great conversation. I know we're a little over an hour here. So just a,
Mhm,
a couple more questions, and then you've
mhm.
also started an online business now, right? You were like
Um,
jump or you're doing something online. I thought I saw like you were
I do
just getting
some
out there.
I do some affiliate marketing, which is just like different companies where you promote their stuff and then you get
Got
commission
it.
if they purchase. I have, the shirt Pretty and Violent from Grapple or
Yeah.
Die. I'm a it for
Oh,
him, and
you're
so if
affiliate
people use
sponsor Grapple or Die?
him, so if people use my code when they
Wow.
buy their stuff, then it
Oh,
helps me
we
out.
will so
Liana
put
20.
that code. Look, Grapple or Die is a
Um,
huge
yep.
company. Like I love their stuff.
Mhm.
We'll definitely put
Yeah,
that in
I
the
love
show
this stuff.
notes here. Um,
Yeah, definitely. I'm also an affiliate for Make Wellness, which is bioactive peptides, which I
mhm.
know like that's kind of a thing now, and it's great
Yeah,
for athletic people. They've got lots of different lines of products specifically um, for athletic people as well, and just everyday people. So that's kind of just some of my little side hustles that I throw in there online too.
one I did see a post, I don't know if it was about peptides, but, like so Ozempic came on the market and just, like, had this, like, cult going after, and I, um, I know the benefits of peptides and stuff like that, but, like, what are your I mean, I know we're gonna get a little bit of a topic here, and so we can go a little bit
Sure.
longer if we need to, but, like, what are your thoughts on these, was it GLPs and stuff like that for health? I mean,
I
it's gotta be doing
I'm
some
not a fan.
damage, huh?
I'm not a
Yeah.
fan, and I mean, I'm not a medical professional, so I mean, don't, don't don't take advice from me who's ever listening, but um I'm very weary of pharmaceutical products to begin with anyway. I think definitely I'm thankful we have certain pharmaceuticals and we have the advancements in medicine that we have. Obviously, dealing with a knee injury right now. I'm very grateful that I can
Yeah.
go and get surgery to correct this.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But I'm very weary of a lot of mainstream daily pharmaceuticals that are pushed on us. And it scares me, this whole Ozempic GLP-1 injection trend, because I just don't trust something that can make you lose that much weight. I don't think it's healthy either, because I'm seeing a lot where it's like people just aren't eating because of it, I guess, and, you need to eat.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah,
I think
100%.
it's taking it's taking things in the wrong direction, and I understand there are people that struggle with weight loss, there are people that have a harder time than others, but I don't think this is the solution for it. And I
Right.
think that women specifically are going to be harmed from this because it does decrease your muscles quite a bit. And as women, we already are dealing with less muscle mass to begin with. And I think the long term effects from these injections are really going to wreak havoc on women's health in the long run. And it's not going to be
Yeah.
good.
I've been thinking, like, I think it's not something we're seeing right away. I think it's gonna show up, like, in the health statistics over, the next 5, 10 years, like, "Oh,
Mhm.
wow," because I mean, that happens. That's how these
Yeah.
things happen, right? This new thing comes on the market, and
Yeah.
do you remember this is not me asking your age, but like Excedrin, is it Excedrin that came out, the weight loss drug? And everybody was like all on it. And it was, you had to drink a ton of water. I remember
It's
that was
it
being a thing.
sounds it
Excedrin, not
sounds
Excedrin.
very
That's yeah. You
that's
can
migraine.
Google it, but it starts
I
with an
think
X.
I know. Uh-huh. I think I know
But
what you're talking about. I
but it
remember,
came
yeah.
out, and then all of a sudden, like doctors were like, "Do not take this. You're gonna have a heart attack and die." And like third of the population was taking it, and they had to like put out this. And I wonder if like that's gonna be the same with GLPs. I wonder.
I'm thinking, and
Like,
I think
I
that it's
mean,
just,
I don't know enough about it,
and people
but
are gaining. Yeah, and people are gaining the weight right back if they stop taking it, and that's the problem. Is it's just there's just there needs to be a better way to go about these things, and we do have some options with the peptides that actually help
mhm,
because I've been using, the lean one, and the only reason I've kind of been using it is because I am not able to exercise as much
yeah,
as I
mhm,
normally am. I don't wanna gain weight during this just because I'm not able to be as active as I normally would be. I do eat pretty healthy. Like that is one big thing I have really become a proponent of is your diet makes a huge difference in how you feel and how your physical health and everything. So I am pretty good with my diet, but just because I'm less active, I have been taking the lean product through Make Wellness with the peptides that I do help sell.
yeah,
And it does help with, like the junk food cravings. It
oh yeah,
doesn't make it where you don't eat. So that's
yeah,
why I like it, is it doesn't make it where you don't eat, like, I still am eating a healthy amount, but it definitely does help with a little bit of curbing those intense cravings that you can get just because I can't afford right now to be really giving into those junk food cravings that may pop up.
yeah. Yeah, I went through this most unhealthy weight loss that you could probably imagine. Like I totally did everything wrong. So when I came out of the military, I was in good shape. Yeah, I was
Mhm.
cut. I looked pretty good. I felt pretty confident. And then yeah, I started eating at the Etna cafeteria. They had like anything you want made to order. So I was eating like tacos, not Taco Tuesday, but tacos Monday through Thursday. I love tacos. But yeah, like I got up to like 2 something, 2 plus, and,
Ooh,
uh, cholesterol shot up, everything. But what I did so I don't know if you're familiar with, like, ADHD medications like, Adderall, and then there's this one called Vyvanse, and it's for binge
yeah.
eating, and I started taking that. But again, long story short, I was burning like 1,300 calories a day, training jujitsu twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day, but only taking in like
Mhm.
600. So I got down to like 170 something, and I looked sick, and my body started eating my muscle. And like it
Oh,
was so the importance of doing things right. And like now,
yeah.
like all weight loss is in my mind. And again, I'm like you, I'm not a healthcare professional.
Yeah.
That would be a scary thought. But it's a caloric deficit. Burn more than you take in. That's
Mm,
it. Burn more than you take in, and you'll lose and maintain whatever weight you need. Um,
mhm.
but I do think there's a little bit more to it now that I get older, right? Like
Mhm.
for guys, this
Yeah.
appropriate testosterone levels. You can't
Mhm.
you can't deny the importance of peptides and their play
Mhm.
across male and female, right? Um,
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
no, it's good. I know we went on another topic there. Thanks for hanging around.
Cool.
Any final
Yeah.
thoughts as we get to the end, or especially around those who are like yourself, kind of on the sideline? Um, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but just kind of
Yeah.
going
Totally.
through an injury, and maybe they're getting into to their feelings, right? They're getting into the negative mental side. Just what are some of your final thoughts?
Yeah. Just again, like I said, don't give up on combat sports. This is temporary. You're gonna get through it. Don't give up. Still do what you can to be active if that means like what I'm doing, where you're going and at least watching and just still involving yourself in that environment so you can still keep it fresh in your mind and still learn. And also it does show your coach too, like, hey, I'm still here, I'm sticking with this. And they like to see that type of stuff that that shows that you are dedicated to it. And just make sure you're still finding those positive ways if you are, especially if you are someone like me who's dealing with mental health. You and I touched on the PTSD stuff and all that. Like, if you're somebody who's using jujitsu to work through those mental struggles that you deal with, it is so important to still find some way to keep that mind occupied so that you don't end up going crazy and going back into those bad mental spots and relapsing, if that's the case, if you're somebody who's gotten away from abusing alcohol or whatnot. It's still so important to just keep yourself in a good spot mentally
Mhm.
as much as you can, because it is hard. It's hard. I've had some moments the past month where I haven't been the best mentally.
Yeah.
But it's just so important to just not give up on combat sports and not give up on yourself.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. That is perfect. And for those who are listening, you have multiple ways to connect, but how would you like to you best connect with the listeners if they want to reach out?
So I'm on Instagram. I have a kind of a funny handle. There's reasons behind it. So it's
Oh,
wild ass
yeah.
warrior woman, wild ass dot warrior dot woman. And I kind of came up with that. I mean, it sounded cool, but also because I really like donkeys. I have a donkey tattoo there with my Arizona
Oh,
flag.
I so
I
wish I would
fell
have
in love with
known that. We would have so went into
yeah.
that. That is so cool.
So yeah, donkeys. I fell in love with donkeys when we lived in Arizona. And I'd say Arizona was probably my favorite place for nature. Like, there's so many beautiful places to explore, and the hiking scene out there is phenomenal. Um, but I started to learn a lot about donkeys because you have wild donkeys out there. There's a lot of them.
Oh, wow.
Um, and they're so cool. Yeah, I have pictures. I'll have to throw
I
maybe
haven't
maybe
thought
after
about
we get
seeing
off, I'll
donkeys in the wild. Think about horses, but
oh,
not
they have,
donkeys.
yes, they have wild donkeys. There are wild donkeys all over Arizona. Maybe I'll do a little Instagram post with my pictures with the wild donkeys, because I have some photos of me with the wild donkeys when we lived in Arizona. Um, but I just fell in love with them, and I started learning more and more about donkeys. And here we go. We're going to go get on a topic of learning about asses today. But they what drew me about them is that there was a lot of similarities where um, a lot of people think they're stubborn, but they're actually not stubborn. They're just very intuitive creatures. And if they know something is not good for them, they're not going to enter. They're not going to go. They will not. Even if you train them, whatever, if they know a situation is not good, they're not going. And so they're very intuitive animals. And also, they are just as strong as a horse, even though they are smaller.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot of, and I mean, we could go down the rabbit hole with that, but like there's just a lot of things that I learned about them that I just fell in love with donkeys. And so that kind of just came up with that handle a while back, because there was just parts of it that I felt like incorporated with me, like with my love for the wild donkeys and just the way I connected with them, and just
I would
I
have
kind
never
of
put
just threw
that
that in.
together. Yeah, I would have never, like, the
Mhm.
ass is, like, literally talking about a donkey, right?
Yeah.
That
So
not
it kind of,
just,
it
like,
just,
wild, crazy, yeah, that's
well,
cool.
that, I mean, that too, I used to be pretty wild, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of the story behind how I came up with that handle, and it just kind of flowed really cool. Wild ass warrior woman. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was kind of the reasoning behind it, was that I fell in love with wild donkeys when we lived in Arizona. And they became my favorite animal that I just connected with. But yeah, that's how I'm on there. Wildass.warrior.woman. I do some fun content stuff, but you're more than welcome to follow me. Send me a message. I'll actually talk with you. Um,
Yep,
and
yeah, yeah. That's
yeah,
how we're here.
I'll actually reply.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll talk to people. And I'm very big on community and building networks up, because I think that community is a lost value in current society.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of like networking locally as far as with other businesses, and I host like some networking socials and stuff because I feel that community is just really important. So yeah, get in
Yeah.
touch with me there and let's be friends.
So, also, if anyone is in your, as we say in the Southeast, your neck of the
Mhm,
woods in Tennessee, and want to
mhm.
find a great place for their four-legged family members,
Oh yeah.
anywhere they can connect with you there?
Yeah, so I'm near Chattanooga. I'm about 30, 45 minutes from Chattanooga, and our business is called Liberty Acres Dog Lodge. And you can go on libertyacresdoglodge.com, or we are on Facebook as Liberty Acres Dog Lodge and Homestead. If you want to give our Facebook a follow, that is much appreciated. We love, anybody interacting with us, as you know, helps boost the algorithm, helps get my posts seen a little bit more for the business. So yeah, if you want to check that out, or if you're ever in this area, like I said, I train at Militia MMA. Come check out the gym; it's a great place. Also, if you're in the area, real quick, I know I talked to you about this on March 20th in Atlanta.
Oh,
My
yeah.
training partner Mary Yes, my training partner, Mary Rosenbeck, she is like the sweetest person ever. And it's funny, before I was training at Militia, Mary was actually the first opponent I ever had in a competition.
Oh,
And then we
wow.
ended up in the same gym later on, but she's super nice, awesome girl. She has an MMA fight in Atlanta on March 20th. And if you go to her Instagram page, she has the link for the tickets there. And so if you are in the Atlanta area, come watch her fight, come support her, buy those tickets through her Instagram page,
Yeah.
to help support her and her MMA journey that she's on.
Yeah, I'm excited to connect with her. We spoke
Mhm.
briefly through a couple of DMs. Thanks for making that connections. And absolutely,
Yeah, of
I
course.
plan to get out there as well. So we'll probably get to see each other face to face and
Mhm.
watch Mary compete. And it's also funny you have mentioned, because the first person that I competed against is a white belt and they beat me. He and I are
Mhm.
pretty good friends and stay connected now. But that's awesome. No, thank you so much for coming on and spending the hour plus here with me. And to all of the listeners, those of you who are dealing with maybe injuries, or maybe you're a first responder and listening to this, and you
Mhm.
know feel and the kind of the same way Liana and I do, you know, drop a comment, respond. But we'll have all of her uh, links and websites in the show notes. And again, thank you so much for being here, Liana. It's been a great time.
Thank you for having me.